Hey, government students. So today I'm going to help you go through our comparing constitutions, Ohio and the U.S. Constitution from iCivics. So you guys should open this up on Cami if you have not done so already. If at any point during this video you guys need help, um, more than what I'm giving in the video, or you need to go a little bit slower, you need more time, then just go ahead and hit pause on this video while you're working on it and take your time. Go ahead and email me if you need to. Post questions in the classroom if you need to. And once you get your answer, or once you've finished your answer, whatever it is you're working on, then you can come back to the video and continue on if you need. All right, so we're going to start here. So you should have opened this up in Cami. So let's start this together here. If you've seen one, you have not seen them all. The United States Constitution isn't the only constitution in America. Each state also has its own constitution that is the law of the land inside the state borders. Except, of course, that the United States Constitution is a supreme law of the United States and is superior to the individual state constitutions. So the United States has its constitution, which we've been talking about all school year, and then each state has their own constitution, their own set of rules. And those are binding within the state. State constitutions are different from the U.S. Constitution in many ways, but there are many similarities too. For example, the U.S. Constitution begins with a preamble that introduces the Constitution and explains its purpose. The Ohio Constitution also has a preamble. All right, so our first activity, it says compare the U.S. Constitution preamble with the Ohio Constitution preamble. Box the parts that are the same or basically the same in both documents. So you can put a box around them, or like in Cami, whatever's easiest. If underlining is easier or highlighting is easier, feel free to do that too. So you're going to read this part of the U.S. Constitution and this part of the Ohio Constitution and highlight or box in things that are the same. So in the U.S. Constitution, it says, "We the people of the United States." In the Ohio Constitution, it says, "We the people of the state of Ohio." So you can tell the "we the people" part is the same. So you could highlight that in both of these, or you could underline it, whatever is easiest. But that very first part, you could do that in both of them. And then I want you to go through and do that for the rest of this part. So read through all this, and underline any parts the same. So you can go ahead and pause the video now and do that. I'm going to go on to the next section. Government rules. Just as the U.S. Constitution gives the rules for how the U.S. government should run, state constitutions give rules for how state government should run. State governments operate independently from the federal government, and state constitutions set out the structure and functions of state government. Like the U.S. Constitution, all state constitutions create three branches of government: executive, judicial, and legislative. All the state constitutions, since the creation of the national constitution, have really been based off of it. So there are going to be a lot of similarities, and a lot of the ways the government is set up is going to be the same. So like having those three branches: executive, judicial, and legislative. States may structure their individual branches differently than the federal government. However, because state governments have a lot of responsibilities that are different from what the federal government does. The U.S. Constitution requires states to be governed by the representative democracy, which means state citizens must be able to elect their government representatives. Beyond that, states are free to organize their governments in a way that best suits the state's individual needs. So each state is allowed to make their constitution the way they want, so long as they're providing representative democracy for their constituents, for the people, their citizens of their state. All right, the next activity is going to be the opposite of what the last one was. So compare how the government is set up in the U.S. Constitution with how the state government is set up by the Ohio Constitution. So what you're going to do is you're going to underline the parts that are different. So they've lined them up for you here. So on the left side, we have the U.S. Constitution. On the right side, we have the Ohio Constitution. So you're going to go through and you're going to underline or box or highlight any parts of them that are different. All right. So let's do the first part together. On the U.S. Constitution, it says the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States. All right. In the Ohio Constitution, it says the supreme executive power of this state shall be vested in a governor. All right. So what is different between those? So if you want to say, well, the U.S. Constitution doesn't have the word supreme in it, you could highlight or underline that. You could say vested in the governor. That's different rather than in a president. So you could highlight or underline that. On the Constitution side, a U.S. Constitution, you would highlight the president because the Ohio Constitution doesn't have president in it. It has a governor instead. So once you've done that, I want you to move on to the next one and compare these two and highlight the parts of them that are different. And then move on through. All right, so go ahead and pause the video while you're doing that part of the assignment. And then when you're done with it, go ahead and click play back in the video, and we'll get started on the next part of it. All right, layers of government, the next part of this assignment. Both the U.S. and Ohio constitutions create governments where smaller units of government share power with a larger government. However, the power sharing systems work very differently. So we've got our national layers of government here. You can see a picture of the United States with all of the states within it. So there's us, there's Ohio. We got Texas and California, Nevada, all the states are right there. But if you zoom into Ohio, you can see we've got different, even then broken down different types of governments. So here's our map of Ohio, and you can see all of our counties within there. All right. So a lot of us live in Franklin County. Some of you might live in Licking County or Delaware County. So just like our U.S. map is broken down into states, our Ohio map is broken down into counties. But not just counties, also broken down into townships and into cities and villages. So let's go over those real quick. All right, layers of the national government. States. States are a unit of government that existed before the U.S. Constitution was written. There were only 13 states back then, and Ohio was not one of them. So if you remember, along the Atlantic coast right here, we had 13 colonies that became 13 states when we declared independence, went through our Articles of Confederation, Constitution, and then we finally got our U.S. Constitution we have today to make our government look like it does now. All right, let's go down to the nation part. Nation. The U.S. Constitution creates a larger unit of government. This federal government got its power and authority from the states. So here's just a generic outline map of our country. So we got our states and our country. Let's go to the Ohio map. Counties. The Ohio Constitution authorizes units of government called counties. 9 existed before Ohio became a state. So we had 9 counties in this area even prior to Ohio becoming a state. All right, let's go down to townships. Townships are small units of government created by the U.S. federal government before Ohio became a state. Ohio's constitution affirms them. So you can see the map looks a lot different, but all of these are broken down into different townships. So sometimes when you guys are driving around your neighborhood or in your area, you might see a sign that says entering blank township. Maybe it's Sharon Township or Perry Township, but those are different groups or areas of government. All right, we break it down even further. Cities and villages. Finally, Ohio's Constitution authorizes even smaller units of government and government. Cities and villages. Areas not classified as a city or village are governed by townships and counties. So you have a city government, you have a township government, you have a county government, you have a state government, you have a national government. If you don't fall into a specific city or village, then you still have all of those other levels of government. Remember, we call that federalism when you've got all these different layers or levels of government. All right, after all that, activity C. The relationship between larger and smaller units of government in Ohio and the state and all the states is the opposite of the relationship at the national level. Explain. So I want you to write right in here how the relationship between Ohio and its levels of government are different than our our country and national government. So how are these levels different from each other? And what I think you should do is maybe focus on where power comes from. And I think that might help you. So we're going to stop on that part for today. So consider this part 1 of these videos on going over this iCivics assignment. We're going to do the next part together next class. And we'll start here with everybody's got rights. So go ahead and finish these first 3 activities, activity A, B, and C. And when you're done, go ahead and turn in that assignment. I hope you guys are doing well. I miss you all. And I will talk to you soon, I hope.